share with you. Muy buenas tardes, siendo las 19:19 horas, les saluda Cristian Cristóful, coordinador de lengua inglesa del Instituto Superior de Lenguas, en calidad de moderador. Se da inicio a la defensa virtual de Tesina, acorde a la resolución número 1476/2023, que fija fecha y hora de la Tesina con el título The Effects of Role-Playing Games in Education, a cargo de los autores Andrés Fernando Gimenez Ferreira e Ian Darío González Pérez, de la carrera de lengua inglesa del Instituto Superior de Lenguas, el día de hoy, lunes 20 de noviembre del 2023. En calidad de presidente del tribunal examinador nos acompaña la profesora Romina Bento. Muy buenas tardes, profesora.
Buenas tardes, profesor. Buenas tardes, futuros licenciados.
En calidad de miembros del tribunal examinador, las profesoras Cintia Rolón y Belén Migliorisi. Muy buenas tardes, profesoras.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Muy buenas tardes a todos.
Postulantes universitarios, buenas tardes.
Muy buenas tardes a todos.
Muy buenas tardes.
Profesora Bento, queda usted en el manejo del desarrollo de la defensa.
Gracias, profesor Cristóforo. Well, welcome to this final event at last, and the microphone is yours. You have 30 minutes to go over your presentation, and then I'll open the microphone again for questions we might have, and that's how this goes. So the microphone is yours, guys.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, respected panel members and distinguished guests. We, Andrés Gimenez and me, Ian Gonzalez, are honored to stand before you today to present our thesis project entitled The Effects of Role-Playing Games in Education. Please allow us to provide a brief overview of what you can expect during this presentation.
So we will be showing the different 5 chapters of our presentation. First of all, we have the introduction, where we'll provide a contextual foundation for the study. The review of literature. This is an exploration of the existing scholarly work. Theories and findings, methodology, where we delve into the strategies, techniques, and approaches employed to conduct the research, the outcomes of the study. In this section, we'll talk about the findings and results of our research, and the conclusions. Finally, we will wrap up with a summary of the thesis.
To start off with the introduction, the statement of the problem. Education, key for individual growth, faces challenges with outdated teaching methods, and role-playing games offer a novel approach to enhance student engagement, motivation, and overall well-being. And the purpose of the study is to explore the untapped potential of role-playing games in ESL classrooms, focusing again on motivation, interaction, engagement, and well-being.
When it comes to the significance, this study addresses the critical need for improved teaching techniques. By exploring the impact of role-playing games, it aims to empower educators to create dynamic and enjoyable learning environments, foster motivation, well-being, and language proficiency. And also the limitations and ethical concerns. We chose participatory action research, which has limitations in participant availability and control over variables. And the findings may also be context specific. Moreover, ethically, the study adheres to the APA guidelines ensuring informed consent, confidentiality, and anonymity.
As far as our research questions, the main question that we decided to go with was, how do role-playing games impact the learning process in classrooms, especially in terms of motivation, interaction, and engagement? And those are the subset questions coming straight out of that main theme. When it comes to our review of literature, we will delve into the relevant findings from various research studies that directly align with our own research questions. First, we need to define what games are before we go into the specifics of role-playing games. Games do have basic elements that are considered a standard worldwide. We have a system and a space in which the game takes place, the concept of score, actions, and traits. This is where players earn scores or points based on their actions or decisions. We have the players as well, and the abstract component of games, since they are inherently abstract. The competition aspect is also there, as well as the rules that define the order of play, the fairness, and the victory conditions of each game. Interactivity is also in there, as well as the feedback that comes with each game. The results are also very important. They have to be well defined and quantifiable. And games, as well as a final note, do have an emotional response. Games have the power to evoke a wide range of emotions in players.
When it comes to these elements, and when we mix these elements when with education, we come up with gamification. But what is gamification exactly, and how does this relate to our research? So, as we know, gamification is the process of using game thinking and mechanics to engage and solve problems. This affects various areas like innovation, marketing, training, and health. It includes game based concepts, for example, levels, badges, appealing graphics, and easy to use interface. Game thinking is central, adding competition, teamwork, exploration, and narrative to regular activities, aiming to explicit engagement. Challenges should be moderately difficult. Gamification, often misunderstood as just words or simple games, and actually incorporates core game elements like participation, storytelling, character depiction, and problem solving. All of this is so important because it doesn't undermine the genuine learning. But serious educational activities frequently happen in game environments, showcasing its versatility. And all of this is related to our study because our role playing game techniques derive from gamification.
We do have some examples, and we have Cisco's The Binary Game, which teaches us binary numbers. Also, IBM's Innovate, making business process management more interactive. And beyond academia, Hilton Embassy Suits engage 50,000 customers with game-based approaches, boosting company revenue. This showcases us the potential that gamification has to reshape and enhance the educational experience, and not only in academic context, but in business as well. As for the definition of RPGs, role playing games, RPGs, involve individuals assuming characters and enacting roles, creating immersive learning experiences. In the educational context, role plays simulate real life scenarios, offering powerful learning opportunities. And our specific definition for this research frames RPG activities as a learning experience with game characteristics, promoting language skills through objectives, competition, goal achievement, and collaboration as well.
Okay, so when it comes to role playing game techniques, we research several studies and we find that we're not only the ones that are putting in these research techniques into motion. So first, to understand that these role-playing games, they transport students to fictional worlds where they undertake roles, solve puzzles, and engage in language-rich tasks, transforming traditional classrooms into a dynamic learning environment. There are several studies that has been conducted, and one of these uses, for example, the Pathfinder system, which is a role-playing system to complement a short story, revealing the students' gaming decisions were linked to their understanding of the narrative. And in another study, an experience system, an XP system, was used in order to reward responsible behavior, where students were given experience points when they were responsible, demonstrating a direct application of role-playing game elements. Furthermore, there is an article conducted by Dani in 2016 where she created a system called Transformative Role Playing Games, which uses a certain characteristics of role playing games to create tools for knowledge assimilation, role play competencies, teamwork, and collaborative ingenuity, and also development individual pathways, which is to use and to improve the well-being of students. So overall, we can state that role-playing games can be used to create immersive and dynamic learning environments where language mastery converges with the excitement of exploration and discovery. Furthermore, we need to understand that role-playing games has a specific element which is talking, conversing, because at the end of the day it's basically theater. So playing role-playing games actively engages students in the language learning process, making them active participants in their journey. RPGs expose students to authentic language use, allowing them to apply grammar rules and expand their vocabulary in meaningful contexts. So, aside from being able for them to talk, they can also use the grammar rules that they have been studying in class and apply them. Also, they incorporate 21st century skills, which is, for example, critical thinking to solve issues within the game, and communication and creativity. And it also includes one of the most important parts, which is assessment and feedback. Not using traditional exams, but incorporating performance-based evaluations like oral presentations and group discussions, and the feedback is given right there in the moment. So these methods gauge not just learning proficiency, but the practical application of language skills in real-life scenarios.
Moving over to the advantages and disadvantages, let's start with the advantages. We have enhanced motivation from RPGs, where they immerse students in interactive scenarios, fostering excitement and intrinsic motivation. We also see improved engagement, promoting active participation, collaboration, problem solving. This deepens the student engagement. Also, authentic language use is very present in RPGs. They provide a realistic language use, allowing the students to apply vocabulary learned, grammar rules, and discourse strategies with a purpose. The social emotional well being is another advantage to consider, where RPGs contribute to a supportive learning environment, nurturing self confidence, empathy, and people skills, and not to mention the 21st century skills, which are critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and collaboration, all of which are essential for success in the modern world.
Now, this technique is not perfect. It's not a technique that can size. It's not a one size fits all. So one of the disadvantages that it has is that younger children may struggle with this technique since it is heavily abstract and it needs certain visual cues for the children to be able to immerse themselves into the activity. Also, time management and preparation are something that can prove to be a challenge to the teacher, since within the class it could easily take up until an hour, and it takes a long time to prepare. Finally, another disadvantage is that students may feel discouraged when comparing themselves with the other students, and it's important to highlight and it's important to manage expectations within students. Now, moving on to the motivation, engagement, and well-being, it's important to establish, as we have throughout the presentation, that these techniques fosters motivation and engagement because it creates a new environment for students to talk, to converse, and it's not a conventional setting. So students are able to motivate themselves to explore a completely new world. Also, they improve well-being by creating a supportive and inclusive environment, reducing anxiety and foster confidence. Aligning with the learning center approaches, role-playing games promote active learning, autonomy, and personal relevance, offering students opportunities to apply language skills authentically.
As for the chapter 3, we have the methodology. This is where we provide insights into how the study was conducted. The type of study that we mentioned we selected before is action research, specifically an approach of participatory action research, PAR. This is quantitative and qualitative as well. Active collaboration between researchers and participants are important to address pertinent issues. On our setting and participants, our participants were 30 students of a proficiency level from A1 to B1, conducted in Luque Central with second year high school students. The action research involves the entire class for a comprehensive assessment.
Now, when it comes to the data collections, we need to understand that the students did have their classes, and one more period each week was added in order to provide the techniques. So in total, there were 24 periods, 14 hours from June 16th to July 7th. So the RPGs were chosen carefully, one of which were easy to manage and others that were long, and it took a lot of the pretty much all of the class for them to be able to perform in the activities. These were chosen, for example, one of the techniques were werewolf, another was called the echoes of the oblex, and all of them were used to assess the different knowledge that the students were acquiring throughout the classes. So we collected the data through observations, student surveys, and semi-structured interviews, which were chosen in order to give students a freedom to express themselves regarding their experiences. Now, when it comes to the data analysis, we use thematic analysis for the qualitative data from interviews and observations, and descriptive statistics for quantitative data on RPG effects. We chose the surveys again because we needed to triangulate data in order to make sure there were no holes and in order to make sure that we are not biased towards the results of our investigation. Finally, now, having navigated through the diverse research methodology, we venture into Chapter 4, where we shift our focus to unravel the outcomes of the study, shedding a light on the tangible effects observed. So there are 6 themes that we discovered, and finally, we're going to discuss our findings. Now, these are some examples of the questions given in the interviews. I'm going to read 2 out loud so you can have an idea. Can you share your impressions and general experiences about the use of role-playing games in the classroom, or how do you think role-playing games influenced your language learning? And then several follow-up questions were given based on the responses of the students. Now, the first theme that we have is enthusiasm and eagerness. We observed in the different classes that there was a consistent enthusiasm, and in all classes and interviews, surveys results showed most students eagerly anticipating the RPG activities. This could be also led to the fact that I have performed with the students before the different RPG activities, and they were eager to know what other activities I prepared for the studies. And also, then there was a noteworthy moment where the students were eager and enthusiastic towards finishing the activity, and their time ran out and they wanted to finish and find out what happened at the end of the story.
As for the interviews we did, I would like to highlight one of them. The participant 5M told us, "It was a pleasure to take part and learn that way. We are all practically playing and learning at the same time. It's nice to take part in a class where everyone is playing and learning at the same time. We can see enthusiasm and eagerness here as well."
Now, when it comes to the surveys, we can see that the first sentence, we use a Likert scale in order to give students different responses between strongly agree and strongly disagree. In these cases, we don't see the strongly disagree because students did not choose any of those answers. However, in this case, we see that the music, the lights, the narrations favors the immersion in the class and encourages your interaction. And a total of 29 responses were agree or some strongly agree, which indicated that these characteristics of the techniques helped immersion in the class and encourages a certain level of eagerness to participate.
On a right survey, we can reveal that the significant majority of participants either strongly agree or agree that they enjoy actively participating in role playing game activities during English classes. These results indicate that incorporating such interactive techniques fosters a positive and enjoyable learning environment.
When it comes to the second theme, which is well-being, we need to address one of the most important parts, which is affective filter. Emotional states like self-confidence, anxiety, and motivation can hinder learning. So it is an important part that we discovered through our thematic analysis that some students share with us that they felt less stress after the games. But since we cannot observe how they are feeling, it poses a challenge. So the evidence of this theme is found in the survey and in the interviews.
Another highlighted answer from the interviews that we had was participant 1E. It goes, "Yes, because for example, we had a very complex exam before the games we had, and at least they made me. I was very tense about the exam, and it seems that the game calmed me down a little bit, relating to how this helps in a stress relieving context."
Now, when it comes, go ahead.
On the survey, This data on the left survey specifically, it demonstrates that many participants, again, either strongly agree or agree that role-playing games have a positive impact on their overall well-being and enjoyment of the language learning process. This highlights the significance of role-playing games in creating positive and enjoyable learning experiences.
Now, when it comes to the right survey, we also see that they feel confident speaking English through role playing games in real situations. Many students expressed that they felt more confident when talking, and we know that confidence is one of the key components when learning English and in order to express themselves, since most students feel scared of talking in English. So we can see that um, 23 positive responses strongly agree that these activities boosted their confidence in using English outside the classroom. This suggests that the techniques that we employed are effective in enhancing participants' language skills and their readiness to apply them in real life interactions. Now, when it comes to engagement and focus, throughout the observations, we observed that there, the engagement was a recurring theme of remarkable student engagement and focus during RPG activities. Active participation in debates and discussion, collaborative problem solving, and exploration of special abilities contribute to this engagement. So, in the different situations that were given to the students, the lights were dimmed. There was music was put in certain situations, and they were uh, put certain tasks they had to perform, like asking questions, and this helped fostering their critical thinking to in order to solve the issues. And also, there were certain competitions where they had to, um, in a certain sense, discover what happened and which group discovered first what happened to this person. So this, in a certain sense, engage the students and make them focus on the objective ahead.
When it comes to the interviews, once again, I would like to highlight the perspective of the participant 7T. Yes, but when it was time to play, I felt that I could talk more, interact with my teammates because it was more competitive. Here we can see how we can tap into the competitive spirits that some students have.
Now, when it comes to the left survey, the question or the sentence that was given to the students, it says that if I feel engaged during role-playing games activities compared to other traditional language learning methods. And 26 responses either strongly agree, or somewhat agree that they feel more engaged during role-playing game activities compared to traditional games or traditional language learning methods. This emphasizes the effectiveness that role-playing games have into engaging the student into making an interactive environment for them to engage with the class, to engage with the teacher, and be able to converse, talk, and participate.
On the right survey, we have a significant majority of students either strongly agreeing or agreeing that they feel motivated to participate in role playing games in the classroom. This finding highlights the positive impact of incorporating role playing games as a pedagogical approach in English language learning.
Now, when it comes to the addressed language skills and their practical application, which is an important part as teachers, we need to understand what actual skills are addressed in these techniques. So it was observed that listening, speaking, and reading skills were addressed throughout the activities. For example, in the listening skills, students were tasked to listen to instructions in order to perform in the game and also to the answers of the teacher regarding the different things that were happening in the game. Now, when it comes to speaking, they had to converse with each other, converse with the teacher, ask questions, practice their language skills, their speaking skills, and also present theories. And post game also emphasize the significance of the English communication. And finally, in some other techniques, which is the echoes of the obelisk and escape the dungeon, they encounter text, clues, and cryptic messages, which help them practice their reading skills.
Moving over to the interviews, participants 2A, 5M, and 6L collectively expressed how RPGs expose them to unfamiliar words that they were not typically taught in traditional language classes. This can go back to how role playing games can enact language learning, specifically on vocabulary.
Now, when it comes to the survey, the question that was asked, role playing games contribute to the overall development of your English proficiency. And this survey reveals that a total of 26 responses either somewhat agree or strongly agree that role playing games significantly contribute to their English proficiency development, helping them converse, read, listen, and which has a positive impact in their students' language skills. Now, the pedagogical dimensions of this technique has a certain connection with certain, as I said, pedagogical dimensions, such as task-based learning, interactive learning, and also uh, fulfilling objectives, which is part of task-based learning. While including these beneficial strategies, the poll investigated students' thoughts on the general attraction of RPG activities as a learning tool, taking their choice into account.
On the survey, we can see that a considerable number of participants, with a total of 25 responses, were strongly agree or agree. This on the topic of role playing meeting the individual learning needs. This can indicate that role playing games provide a flexible and adaptable platform to meet diverse student requirements. However, the existence of some students that are neutral or somewhat disagree also indicate that RPG activities may still need some tweak or improvement to meet, or the activity in itself may not appeal to every single student.
Now, when it comes to the different pedagogical dimensions, we can see collaborative learning and socialization. So, as I previously mentioned, they have to talk to each other, they have to converse, they have to collaborate in order to win certain competencies against each other. And so basically, this actively engaged teamwork, problem solving, presentations. This is exhibited in one of the techniques, which is Echoes of the Outlets, which they had to do solutions, promoting effective communication and collective problem solving.
On our interviews, we can see the perspective of participant 2A. Analyzing the clues with our classmate is important because everyone has a different perspective on the game. This highlights the importance of collaboration, and students are aware of that as well. On our survey, the data reveals that a significant majority either agree or strongly agree that role playing games do offer valuable opportunities for meaningful interaction with peers in the English classroom. These results underscore the social and collaborative nature of role playing games.
Now, the second pedagogical dimension is task-based learning. And in most of RPGs, in the most of the RPG activities, they had an objective they had to follow, they had to reach that objective. So, TVL is a recurring and consistent learning type. For example, in a murder investigation activity, students acting as detectives competing to develop a theory about the murder, aligning with TVL principles of using language in the context of completing a central task. This in turn helps students forget about the class and they had an objective and they had to use their language skills to complete that objective. So the subsequent tasks require collaborative problem solving, aligning again with TVL principles by providing meaningful language practice.
On our survey, role playing games promote creativity and problem solving skills in the English learning. We see most answers being strongly agree or agree. These findings can highlight the value of incorporating interactive and imaginative elements into language learning activities.
Now, finally, is the interactive learning, which is the interaction between the teacher and the students, and the RPG activities was consistently evident, fostering dynamic and engaging experience. The U-shaped seating arrangements, the group circles promoted easy access to materials and active engagement. After a murder investigation, students enthusiastically engage theories, enthusiastically active involvement and immersion, demonstrating active involvement and immersion, departing from traditional passive learning approaches.
On our interviews, participant 7T appreciates the departure from traditional teaching methods where the typical teacher at the whiteboard. This can help a lot with interaction and how students perceive learning.
Finally, the survey states role-playing games have improved your English learning experience, and a total of 22 responses, which is either strongly agree or agree, that role-playing games have positively impacted their English learning journey. This suggests that incorporating role-playing games in the classroom has been beneficial in enhancing students' language learning experience. However, the presence of some neutral responses somewhat highlights the importance of further investigation to make the technique more um, enriching for other students. Now, finally, as I said before, this technique is not perfect, so there were some issues encountered. So this is our last theme. So basically, during the RPG activities, there were some language barriers with some weaker students, and also, despite the efforts, there were also some logistical issues. For example, um, the extended duration of the techniques and also the initial rule confusion were mitigated again, but clear explanations in subsequent sessions. But as I said before, it is complicated and it needs a lot of explanation for the students. And also, there is a special technique where cheating is possible. So that's also another issue encountered where students can cheat and create certain discourse in the classroom.
Moving on to our last interview regarding the issues encountered, we can see the perspective of participant 1E saying there were classmates who cooperated, but there were also others who did not. This goes back to the cooperative aspect of it, the collaborative aspect of role playing games. And although it is a great benefit, not every student may be willing to participate in such activities. On our survey, the data reveals a diverse perspective among participants with a total of 30 responses. While a few students somewhat agree that they find role playing games difficult to understand, a considerable amount remain neutral or even disagree. Interestingly, some strongly disagree with the notion, suggesting that they perceive role playing games as particularly challenging in their language learning. This difference in responses can emphasize the importance of tailoring instructional approaches to address each individual learning need. So, to wrap up this presentation, integrating RPG activities into our classes was challenging, yet rewarding. Thematic analysis and student feedback underscore their effectiveness in enhancing motivation, engagement, and language learning. Crucially, RPG activities foster positive emotional states, alleviating stress and enhancing overall well being. In essence, our journey with RPGs proved to be a multifaceted catalyst for motivation, engagement, language acquisition, collaboration, as well as well being.
Finally, we have the discussion of findings, and we're going to relate back to our questions that is the basis of our research. So our main question, which is what are the effects of implementing role-playing games on the learning process in the classroom, particularly in terms of motivation, interaction, and engagement? So we can see that role-playing games significantly enhance motivation, interaction, and engagement in the language learning process. This was seen both in the studies that we researched and on our own research. The immersive and interactive nature of RPGs sparks enthusiasm, leading to active participation of students and also an increased investment in the learning experience. Now, when it comes to the second question, how suitable are role playing games for language classes and how do they contribute to the overall learning experience? We also saw that these techniques are highly suitable for language classes, providing an enriching and dynamic learning experience. Students experience a distinct upsurge in enthusiasm as they assume different roles and they can explore their language skills in these situations. And finally, the third question is how can they be effectively integrated into language scenarios to ensure proper language usage and time management? So this poses a challenge for the researchers. And so effective integration of role-playing games into language scenarios involves providing clear instructions, which is really important so students don't get confused, and implemented targeted interventions. Addressing language barriers and time management issues ensures a smoother and more productive learning experience, allowing students to navigate the challenges in a more smooth way. The fourth question is what are the potential drawbacks using role playing games as a teaching technique and in which situation may not be recommended? While RPGs offer numerous benefits, potential drawbacks include challenges for students with limited proficiency, time management issues, and concerns related to clear instructions. And also, it's not suited for all ages. As I said before, children need a certain level of visual cues and a lot of instructions for them to actually grasp the abstract concepts. And finally, what are role-playing game activities effects on well-being and how they impact affective filtering and student predisposition to learn. So we saw that this, from the research studied from NADU and from our own research, we saw that these activities possibly impact by reducing anxiety barriers and fostering self-assurance. RPGs serve as an outlet for emotional expression, contributing to confidence development.
Moreover, regarding the implications of incorporating role playing games in ESL language education by bridging the gap between traditional teaching methods and contemporary gamified approaches, our findings offer educators practical insights into enhancing student motivation, interaction, and overall well being. We underscore the potential that gamification has, emphasizing its ability to redefine learning experiences. Educators can leverage these insights to create dynamic, engaging environments that cater to a diverse learning style. And through the lens of role playing games, we can spotlight the importance of emotional engagement and collaborative learning. The versatility of RPG activities accommodates a diverse learning preference and builds crucial skills like cooperation. While recognizing the complexities that we encounter throughout this project, the study still advocates for periodic integration of RPGs into language curricula, offering practical stories and techniques in the appendices for an effective implementation.
Finally, recommendations is that educators can improve language learning outcomes by experimenting with innovative teaching strategies such as role-playing games, adjusting them based on regular assessments and studied input. We have to we have to recommend that this is not suited for every class, and we need to assess if our class is suited for these techniques. And but if it is suited, you can incorporate immersive learning strategies, attending relevant conferences, and foster collaboration between language teachers and game designers can further enhance the effectiveness of role-playing games language learning. So these are our references that we had for our research. And yeah, thank you so much for paying attention to our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now I will open the microphone to my colleagues so that they go first. Ms. Migliorisi, would you like to start?
Sure. Okay, good evening, all. Good evening, guys. Okay, first of all, congratulations on the topic, on the research, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that you chose a participatory action research, which is something we don't see quite often. So that was something good to see. And overall, you did answer my question at the end of the presentation regarding the age gap, but specifically from, okay, we said that it would be difficult to implement this type of games, let's say with children. So from what age would you recommend the implementation of role-playing games?
So according to my own experiences and all my experiences with role-playing games, I would recommend for teachers to use this technique from seventh grade and upwards.
Okay.
Sixth graders are still somewhat reliant on TPR techniques, so I believe that they should use from seventh grade and upwards. I myself have been using to finish up the school the curriculum year with my eighth graders, and they participate with a lot of engagement. I'm like, teacher, please, let's keep playing. I want to know what happens with the carnival. We were playing a carnival, so yeah, seventh grade and upwards.
Perfect. And moreover, what about the proficiency level, especially if we talk about language classes?
So again, my recommendation is from A2 and upwards, because A1 still are building their as I could say, their foundation for English, and they're still having difficulties to learn, sorry, to produce or to understand, because it requires a certain level of proficiency. So I would say that from A2 and upwards.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, guys. That's it for me. Well done.
Cynthia?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Romina. Eh, um, well, eh, uh, I would like to congratulate both of you as well on the choice of your topic because it is something quite new in education, at least in Paraguay, and so it was something fresh. I observed according to your to the surveys that most students were engaged and they were also enjoyed speaking during the games. But I'm also interested in knowing how did you I assume that this was noticeable during the classes because it was about 20% of your students that did not feel confident speaking English and did not feel engaged compared to other more with this method compared to other methods, and also that felt that these didn't meet their individual learning needs and preferences. So was this noticeable during the classes, and if it did, if it was, how did you deal with that?
So I will answer that because I was the one that was dealing with that issue. So regarding the different students which have weaker skills regarding English, I in my second year class I have a level which is advanced and which is basic, and both of them uses different materials. So I assigned two advanced students to the group so they can have and help the other students have weaker proficiency, so they can have so they can feel engaged and not feel lost, because that was an issue that some students felt lost. And teacher, I don't understand what you mean. And then like, okay, ask your classmate what is going on. So they had to explain to the students in English, okay, this means that, this means that. And so the ones that had not a lot of English proficiency were learning new words because the others were teaching them, you know. And in other situations, some students which not appeal to their own in learning preferences, and I in that situation I tried to change it to a more interesting scenario, trying to put the music, trying to put the dim lights that was incorporated in the second technique, so they can, you know, try to immerse themselves. And that worked and effectively. But still, some of them, uh, as I said before, some of them have different preferences. They are not actually into the whole imagination thing, so they just paid attention but not participated a lot. But these were from 30 students. These were three students, which usually have how can I say this, bad behavior in the class. So yeah.
Thank you. And also one more question regarding what you mentioned. Uh, the fact that you were putting students in pairs, so the ones with a higher proficiency level were helping the other ones. Uh, did it work exactly as you expected, or not as much?
It worked as I expected.
Thank you very much.
Well, I had the same question that Ms. Rolon had about the unhappy campers and what to do with them. So that question is out of the list. But I do have two remaining questions. One of them has to do with um, how to manage the expectations of what constitutes a proper English class, because some people tend to have the notion that gaming is just gaming, it's not really learning language. So how do you manage the school expectations in terms of discipline and in terms of fulfilling a curriculum, and the parents expectations as well?
Okay, so one of the things that regarding managing expectations, so that this is not perceived just as just a game, we need to expressly teach the students, and that this is not just a game, just not just another activity, that we're going to use English. And also that goes with the parents. And I specifically cleared up with some parents that exactly what we're going to do, and that they had to use English. This is not just a game. And also, before the techniques, I explained the nature of the techniques. So it's not just, you know, adding up and let's do this, let's do that. So we, in a certain sense, I explained to them the objectives that they need to do. So, for example, they were reviewing past simple. So I told them, so this is the way we're doing in classes. So now you get to use this. So how are you going to use it? So you're going to use this by asking me questions about what happened to the deceased. And then they get to the game and they get to do the things and they get to do the activities, so to make the theories. So in that sense, that's how I manage the expectations of the student, and that's how I would manage the expectations of the parents and also of the school. um, since most of the time I think that schools nowadays are inclined to create more engaging type of activities. So these kind of activities are more refreshing for schools since they diverge from the classic type of teaching. I don't know if that answered your questions.
Yes, that gives me an idea. Now, you did an extensive research on studies conducted on the topic before by other people in other places around the world, and they all seem quite shiny and happy about the results. And you also find shiny and happy results because most of the people were happy in general with the process. But was there anything unexpected that caught your attention? An unexpected outcome or an unexpected finding that you didn't find in the literature that you read for your paper?
So regarding our literature review, one of the researches that I read regarding Prager, which was published, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019, that we both Ian and I read, is that, and also as I said before, this techniques has a certain level of limitation. And Prager analyzed a lot of this type of research studies, and he underlined that, that this is again not a perfect technique. That's why I also we also inclined and we also stressed that this is not a perfect technique. It's not a one size fits all. And as I was a student from Ross Collins, he always told me that I had to look things both ways, both the negative and positive. And yes, that's also helped me, or helped us in this case, to give a more concise and more unbiased result or report of what we discovered in the literature review.
Something that I would like to shine a little bit of light is the socialization aspect of teaching. These role playing games are very important in the sense of you have to have some sort of people skill. And if you don't, you can develop it, but you still have to have some base. And since they are the students that are developing their character, their personality, everything, it can be difficult to some students that are lacking in social skills or are very they have difficulty by integrating into the groups. They can feel left out or they can feel like they don't have the confidence even though they are very capable in other activities. So that's something that we saw as well during these studies.
And both also in the research, because some people lack people skills and like they were not inclined to participate as much. But one of those people that didn't have a lot of people skills said that in a sense it also got her out of her shell, so in that sense she was inclined to participate a little more and speak in the activities.
Okay, so if my colleagues have no further questions, Ms. Rolon, Ms. Migliorisi, then I will kindly ask you to leave the session. We need some time to deliberate, and then we'll let you know when to come in again in the group. Okay?
All right.
Sure thing.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
That includes everyone, not just Ian and Andres.
Todas las personas tienen que salir.
All yours, Professor.
Well, after deliberating and after talking with my colleagues who are part of the board of evaluation, diploma. Felicidades,
Thank you so
licenciados.
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. We're so happy to hear that.
It is
Congratulations.
over.
Congratulations. It's over.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
It's like Flo
Congratulations,
destroying the
licenciado.
ring. It's done. Go home.
Okay.
So in your case, it's actually let's go abroad and study, which is what you've
Yes.
been pursuing. So I don't know what Ian is planning for the future. Staying
Something
around
similar.
or also applying for something abroad.
I'm going to try for a master, maybe something related on a more a general aspect of English. But yes, that's my goal.
Super. That would be very nice. Very nice. And we're happy to call you our colleagues. We know that you put a lot of effort into the paper. It's an interesting topic. Not my favorite subject though, but yes, it is interesting because as I told you before, all the results seem shiny and happy. And when you see a class with mixed abilities, then I'm worried about what to do with the kids who, stay behind and
Mhm.
who lack the social skills that need to be worked on for them. But still, I'm just thinking from my experience at school and what to do with those kids who are unwilling to learn. Maybe I'm a little unbalanced in the question and answer section, and nevertheless, we thought that that wasn't enough to lower your grades, so uh, you got the grade that we think you deserve. And go celebrate with your family. It's late at night. It's dinner time already. So, muchas felicidades. Words in
Binky
order
is
to close the
frozen.
session.